So I just have a question for everybody, and I'm not going to ask it just yet. I need to preface it first, but I think we're all very clearly seeing a pretty quick slide into some crazy police state situation. Well, I mean, we've obviously been seeing it for a while now, but I would say lately, in general, things are getting pretty insane. We've got, obviously, the TSA is, I mean, I don't think a day goes by where I don't check the news and see at least 2 or 3 situations where the TSA has completely overstepped their bounds and done something really horrible to someone and humiliated them or just molested them in a pretty awful way, pretty much almost on a daily basis. The only time when I don't see that is usually when the TSA is being arrested for something and the media converges on that instead. But it's never just a day where I go and turn on my email and see just flowing, glowing reviews of how awesome the TSA is and what a great job they're doing. And I believe it's an InfoWars report that came out like in 07 or 08 that noted that the TSA, their operation has actually, involving terrorism, was like 0.001%. I might be quoting that wrong, but it's a pretty low number. I've never read one article or one story or seen one case where they've stopped a terrorist, ever. So, yay for that. And I was reading today about how last year they had over 9,000, over 9,000! If you don't know that, you won't get that joke. Anyway, over 9,000 operations were done by the TSA last year, not even in airports. So it's definitely expanding, it's coming out, it's everywhere. They've got their Viper teams on highways, doing checkpoints and things. And it really just flies right smack in the face of the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure, and yet we don't have anybody, except for the exception of a few of our politicians in Congress, actually doing anything or saying anything about why this is wrong. There's just a huge mum of silence going on about the TSA. And you've got that. You've got the story with the Supreme Court ruling that you can pretty much be strip searched for any crime now, and that's totally fine. And we have military exercises going on in the middle of the night, scaring the crap out of people and not warning them at all. Just really a heavy prevalence of these things than we've seen previously, including one that's going on at the end of May, which is supposedly a joint anti-terror drill with Russian troops. We've also got basically this whole NATO thing coming up in a few days with the no-fly zones. You've got businesses that are closing and sending people off and basically telling them to leave the city because it's going to be so bad. And they've made a huge deal about it. And then you've got the leaked Red Cross documents where they've warned there may be a mass exodus in the event of a national security event at this thing. So we've got all of this crazy heavy amounts of police state activity, just really just indoctrinating us and desensitizing us to the idea that we're all going to be spied on and under control and just not be able to basically do anything ever under any kind of freedom. Like, I'm surprised I can even make this video right now. So anyway, my question though, the question that I had when I started making this video is, where's your line drawn? What is it going to take? Because there are so many people that I don't understand their reasoning. I don't understand it. So if someone wants to come on and explain it to me, that would be wonderful. I would really like to know where the line is drawn when you have so many people saying, well, that is totally, you know what, that's fine if my emails are being basically surveilled and data housing is going on. It's totally okay if my Facebook account, if I'm willingly giving up just mass amounts of information about myself and what I do in a day and what I eat for breakfast and everybody I know and who they are and where they're from, and that's totally fine if I do that, and I don't care if anyone sees that information, and it's totally okay if my grandma's adult diaper gets removed at the airport just so we can get on a plane to go on a family vacation, and it's totally fine if I get pulled over by police for random things like driving in the left lane so that they can use that as an excuse to search my car even though I wasn't really doing anything illegal. And it's just completely fine. And you hear these people and they continually say all of this is fine. And it's not fine. Nothing about any of this is fine. A lot of it flies directly in the face of our constitutional rights, which is the founding document of our country. And I'm wondering where the line finally gets drawn where it's not fine. Because as you can clearly see from the things that are going on, this isn't getting better. Nothing's changing. It's obvious we have an economic situation going on that is probably not going to be resolvable. And as you know, you've got DHS buying up 450 million rounds of ammo. Okay? Why would they need that much ammunition, hollow point ammunition, which is banned by the Geneva Convention for being used internationally, but it doesn't matter anyway because it's the Department of Homeland Security. Who are they going to secure us from? Do you really think that's going to be used against anyone that's not us? I mean, obviously there are things being amped up. You've got that, you've got the leaked Army document that came to light that obviously shows they plan on interning people into camps, FEMA camps, and how exactly they're going to go about that. You even have the Army spokesperson going on record to say that we weren't supposed to see that. Oh, gee, you think? And they're buying armored, boxes, checkpoint boxes that are bulletproof. They're amping up all the staffing of these camps, and there's all of this stuff that's going on, and I just wonder where the line finally gets drawn and people say, I think I've had enough now. I think I've had enough, and I really just want my freedom back. I just want my freedom back, and I would like to not be treated like a suspicious terrorist criminal every time I try to do anything, because it's at your airport, it's on your highway. How long do you think it's going to be before it's at your front door and it's in your living room? Because, I mean, it's being done incrementally, but it's not going down any. The pattern is not reversing. The data trend is not going backwards. So it's pretty obvious this is going to continue on an upwards trend right into your bedroom, right into your life. I mean, you're not going to be able to, where are you going to go? Are you going to live under a rock? Are you going to build a tree house? Because I'm pretty sure they're going to come to your tree house or your rock also. So I think that when you hear somebody say it's totally fine if my emails are being tapped, it's totally fine if they're mining data off me on Facebook, it's totally fine if they molest my children at the airport, and it's totally fine, and it's totally fine, and it's totally fine. It's totally fine for you to turn to that person and ask them, when is it not going to be fine anymore? Because I think eventually this is not going to get better, it's going to get worse. And people need to start waking up and realizing it. The other day, I was at a street corner, and the light had just turned so that I couldn't cross. And the little red hand thing was blinking that tells you to stop, and more people started collecting on my side of the street, and more people started collecting on the other side of the street. And pretty soon, you've got a group of probably 15 people standing on opposite sides of the street with this light. And there were no cars. There were no cars, but just a big red flashing hand telling us that we couldn't go. And everyone is standing there, but there's no cars. No cars coming in any direction for the longest. Okay? And I'm looking around, and it's like, this is what it is. It's an analogy for what's going on right now. And I just went, why am I standing here? I could be crossing the street. And so I did. And you know what happened? Other people started crossing the street too, because they realized that there's nothing stopping them. And pretty soon, everybody crossed the street. And the little white shiny dude still had not shown up. It was still a red hand telling us we couldn't cross the street, but all of us did. All of us did anyway. You know, because eventually it gets so ridiculous that you start to wonder, what are you doing? You know? First it's you just won't fly, then what? Are you just not going to drive on the highway too? Are you just never going to leave your house? So, I mean, where does the line get drawn? You know, because there's this whole it can't happen here, this is America mentality that I don't think holds water anymore, because it is happening here, and it's happening here at a pretty accelerating pace. So, I mean, I'm not trying to freak out and sound alarmist, but let's just consider that the things that are going on right now are not good, and maybe start asking people, where is your line? Because eventually there has to be a line, and I really, really hope for the sake of our country and all of the principles that it stands on, that the line is not people being drugged into FEMA camps and all-out crazy DHS-inspired civil war, because all these people are coming out in different various formats to say that they're on the inside of that and they have information that they're freaking out. And it's pretty obvious if you look at all of their purchasing orders together that they are planning something. Something's about to go down. You don't just buy a crazy amount of stuff to never use. That doesn't make any sense. It's like my grandmother, you know, she used to buy dog food. And she didn't have a dog, but she would get coupons. She was a huge coupon hoarder, and she would buy this dog food all the time. And I always used to say, but you don't have a dog. That's really weird. Why are you buying all this dog food? And she would say to me, this is in case I run into somebody who has a dog and needs food. People don't just buy things and do a bunch of stuff with the idea that they're never going to use it. If all of this stuff is being bought, it's probably going to be used. Just saying. So, where's the line? That's what I want to know. I want to know, where is your line?